Hello and welcome to the Winners Table, where the conversation is different when you sit with the winners. I'm Amber Wright, your host, and today I'm here with Jeannine of Everyday Lead, Angela of Bamboo, and Freddie of Urban Intellectuals. Today's conversation is going to be about self-care and work-life balance, and if such a thing exists for entrepreneurs. Is that a thing?
No, I was gonna say, is it a thing?
Is it even a thing? All right, so we're gonna get into it and have a discussion about that. And my first question to all of you is, what does self-care mean to you? And we'll start with you, Freddie.
It means it's an illusion. You have to take time to really take care of yourself and pour into your body and being. So whatever it feels like that makes you feel good, I think that's really what self-care is to me, right?
That's fair. How about you, Angela?
Well, I'm actually in the self-care space.
Okay, tell us more.
So I own a sleep company. So I do focus on making sure that people put themselves first. And I think that's what self-care really means. Mm-hmm. It's putting yourself before all the other things that have to get done. Because if you think about it, even from a caregiver's perspective, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of another person. So if you don't, then that person, you're not serving that person well, and you're definitely not serving yourself. So self-care really is, for me, self-preservation.
Oh, I like that. Yes. I own a sleep company. I love that. How about you, Jeannine? What does self-care mean?
For me, it's about mental and emotional well-being.
Okay.
I don't know if it's necessarily about spa days. After having two very significant people in my life pass away and then some friends within a 6-year period, what I realized is that I wasn't well emotionally and I wasn't well mentally while still doing the work. And similar to what Angela just said, because I wasn't well, people around me were getting the effects of that, right? There was little bombs popping off everywhere. And so for me, that's what self-care is. And as someone who works with leaders in large organizations, I recognize that when there's a breakdown in the workplace, it's because they're not well. And typically it's emotional or mental stress. And they don't have a means of being able to channel that in a healthy way. So I think for me, self-care is really about maintaining your well-being first and foremost. Okay. It might not be spa days and
sure. Well, it does mean, it's kind of like to Freddie's point, it means different things to different people. Yeah, and for some folks, a spa day is sufficient. That helps them feel like they have replenished what their work has taken from them. For other people, it's therapy. It's self-care can mean a variety of different things, which is why I love that we're having this conversation and bringing it into the context of entrepreneurship, because like you, I understand what it's like to be overwhelmed and working from a place of burnout without really realizing that you're actually burnt out. I'm just tired when it's more than that. So for me, self-care has evolved into kind of like what you're saying, Angela, is just prioritizing my own wellness. And that comes through my physical wellness, making sure I'm taking care of myself, I'm drinking my water, I'm going to therapy, I'm going on walks, it's a variety of different things that make me feel like I'm operating at my best just for me and not for the benefit of other people. Because I think the conversation around self-care is, put your oxygen mask on first, just so that you can be available for more people to drain you. Where for me now, it's I want to be well because I want to be well, and that helps me in my business. So let's talk about that as it relates to entrepreneurship. So you're about to say something.
Yeah. You really touched on something with me, the stress part, right? Like, and really, you don't. When you're in it and you're in a stressful situation, you don't realize how stressful you are. And if you break down, your business is probably going to fall apart. Most of us are solopreneurs. Fortunately, many of us here aren't. But if you're the only person in the business and you break down, like you're literally in trouble. And like the story I can remember is when I used to own a real estate appraisal company, right? This is before Urban Intellectuals, right? So I didn't realize how stressed I was in that business until I got out. And I remember sitting in my office one day and I just felt good. And it was such a strange feeling. And, the wife had to tell me, she was like, because you've been super stressed all this time, but I never took no time to release and find an outlet that I could, find clarity and get and decompress. So
I think think we've glamorized the hustle, right? And the grind. And when you think about those two words, and I'm a big, words mean something. Language is really important. Yeah. And I think when we think about the grind and we try to glamorize that as no sleep, always on, always working. Yes. Sleep, all of those things, which I get where they come from. Sure.
But you get no badges for that.
You get none.
No badges.
You get none. And I think one of the lessons I learned this year from my my business coach, was why build this business if you don't have fulfillment? Exactly. And what's the point of making this money if you're not enjoying the process of doing it? And I was right in the middle of that, right? Spending hours in my office working and working and working, declining invitations to dinner, declining opportunities to travel, because I really wanted to take this business to the next level, to move it forward. I was coming out of a season of grieving my mom, and that's all I was like, okay, we got to get back on track. We got to get back to where we used to be. And what I realized, I wasn't even the same person that I used to be. Yeah. And so I had to approach it differently, and get rid of all of that culture around go, go, go.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, you really have to figure out what brings you joy and put that first. Because like you said, everything you do is for the betterment of your life. It's not for building a business. Yeah. You build a business because you want freedom, you want financial freedom, you want time freedom. But if your time is then spent serving that business, right? And because everybody said that's what a business owner is, everybody said that's what an entrepreneur is. But if that's not bringing you joy, it's not completing your life, then it's not what the intended outcome is of that business.
You start to disparage the gift. Right? You start to look down on the business that you've created. You start to get frustrated with the people that you've hired, the clients that you serve. And so I do.
Resent it
you resent it.
It's like, well, then what?
Then why did I do this? Right.
And there are a lot of people that are out and they're looking at us. They're looking at small business owners. They're like, I don't want that because I don't want that stress. I don't want that stress. I don't want that, that struggle. And I remember, because I had a pretty lucrative corporate career. And I could have stayed in that corporate career and got my every 2 weeks, they're going to settle up with me. Yeah, right. But the fact of the matter was, I knew that there was more out there for me, but I refused to struggle in it. I refused to be subjected to what everybody said entrepreneurship was. And even though in the beginning, no, I couldn't have afforded the big vacations and, even the spa days were a stretch in the beginning. But if I drove around with my windows down and my music playing, that to me was self-care. That was me putting myself first. Okay, everything else needs to get done, but right now I need to take care of myself. Yeah. So let me get out here, drive the coast.
Absolutely. So let's dig into that a little bit more, though, because there's going to be people in all different stages of entrepreneurship who are going to be watching this. So how do you know when you are taking care of yourself and or your business is overrunning you? What was it like for you all on your journeys to recognize that, apart from coming out of an industry altogether? How do you know when you are giving enough? Because I think there's also this idea of, are we taking the idea of self-care too far? Because everybody wants to rest, and I need my time. I need my mental health day, which is important, because that's what we're all saying. I think we're all in agreement about that. But talk to me about your experiences. Again, like, how do you know that you're giving your business what it needs versus it overrunning you?
Can I just say this one thing? You hit on something, like this self-care theme is really, I feel like it's a phenomenon that is just like working from the pool is a phenomenon, right? We've taken these words and we've created something, work from everywhere, anywhere, self-care, all of these things. Office. Yeah, today's office. Right. And sometimes I wonder, have I been in this so long, right? I've been self-employed, entrepreneurship, paying other folks for such a long time. I still kind of do business the way I know it's done successfully. with the exception of, I do want to take more time off, right? I want to build it into the schedule with our team. And so we actually have wellbeing days. Okay. And so in addition to your personal time off, you get a wellbeing day, and it's for you to do whatever you want. People on our team have gone hiking on that day. There's no phones. You're completely unplugged. And so I really like that as an opportunity for people to just get grounded. Okay.
So this is something you offer to your team within the...
But I think you've evolved into that, right? That wasn't like that in the beginning. You've evolved into it. And I think as technology changes, as people's view on what success looks like changes, so goes the idea of what an office means to you. Yeah. And although, you've been in the business a long time, I think even given your employees' wellness days kind of shows that you're willing to evolve into what it looks like today.
Thank you for that.
And you understand how important it is, right? Yeah. But for entrepreneurs, when you starting out, is over dramatized. Like it's because it's not a reality. Like you're gonna come out the gate, you're gonna work 12, 14, 18 hour days. And you're not gonna have no breaks because you gotta get the wheels spinning. You gotta get the car moving. I love what you're doing for your team and what we do for our teams, but that's the evolution of the process. Right. In the beginning,
when you're all the things,
there are long days, sleepless nights, early mornings, gotta remember to eat. Like the wife would bring me food because I would forget to eat. Because you're in it, you're trying to get this car moving down the road. And I mean, unless you got a rich daddy or mama that's just dropping money on you, then like that reality isn't.
That's a really great point, Freddie, because I think it speaks to understanding where you are in your business. I think that's the answer to the question that I'm posing is how to know if your business is overrunning you or are you giving it what it deserves. It's first understanding, well, what phase am I in? Am I literally wearing every hat? Because that's part of it. And I do think that, especially with the advent of technology and, LLC, Twitter, there's all these conversations that you can just make six figures overnight. And it's like, actually, it takes a lot of time. And in the beginning, it is going to be that. So I appreciate you calling that out, because if I'm a new entrepreneur watching this, I'm wondering, am I doing too much? Or is it enough? But in the beginning, it does require.
But what I love what the ladies are saying is self-care doesn't have to be the 2-week spa treatment or the trip to Jamaica or whatever. Driving your car, right? Like I can get in my fancy car, roll down the windows. I love driving out. Or like I talked about,
before they come and get it, right?
Yeah, right, yeah. right. But I like to run, right? Yeah. So I'm a runner. That's like a great release for me. So that's a form of self-care, right? Exercise. It's a real thing.
Yeah. And you can get it. So I hear. But I say to this in the same vein. Even if you're just starting out and you don't have all the luxuries and you do have all the jobs in the beginning, you still need to come into this quest with the idea that you have to take care of yourself. I have this temple, and this temple needs to see me through. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, I have to do the right things for it. I may not get the extras. I may not get all the things, but the water, the food, the rest and the sleep is going to be important. And that to me is self-care. That's taking care of yourself. I think it's the definition is so literal, and it's in the words. Yeah. Take care of yourself. It doesn't mean spoil yourself.
So we need to redefine self-care.
And defining what it means for you wherever you are. And in my life, I have what I call Amber Appreciation Days.
I love it.
And
does it come with flowers and balloons?
It's whatever my heart desires.
Sometimes mine
so has a birthday cake. I want flowers, if I want to take a day to myself, I've got a family, and listen, I need a break, so I'm going to take it. Wellness is important to me. And that's how it helps me be able to show up in my business, because that's the other part of it too. If you're burnt out and you're frazzled and you're stressed, you're not really good to your business because you're not as present. And like you were saying before, what's the point of doing all of this if you can't enjoy it? And to me, what I got from that is you can't even be present in it because you're so exhausted and you're so burnt out.
Amber, I think what you just said about burnout is that people don't realize that you can manage burnout with routine. So I wake up at 6 a.m. And I admire people who can get up earlier than me. I can't.
Or later.
Right. So so every day it's rising at 6 a.m. I love to listen to music in the morning. I read my goals and my manifesto of what I want to achieve for the year or 6 months, whatever was recently written. I read my goals, my intentions, and all the affirmations. I also read scripture or listen to scripture, and that's how I start my morning.
How long have you had your routine?
Forever. Even if it was like one of my routines in college was taking a nap on Sunday, right? But I think always.
How do you think you created a routine you could stick to?
I do things that I like to do, right? So I do it at the times where I feel most fresh and refreshed. And then I don't put the pressure on myself that if I don't do it, because I think it's the self-talk, right? I didn't do it, so I failed.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of that, like I love to go outside and walk, and I still do that. And the amount of clarity that you get and that increased creativity when you sit back down in front of your computer to do that work. And I do that. I tell my clients when I do get an opportunity to coach, that's the first thing we do within the first 3 or 4 sessions is talk about what are you anchored in? What are the routines that are sustaining you? And so that's how I was able to do it. And my grandparents were big at that.
So my self-care routine is a little different. I am a caregiver. I care for my mom who has a brain injury. So part of what grounds me in the morning is going in and waking her up. And then even though she can do it herself, I will go and I will make her breakfast. And we have a conversation during her breakfast. And then I get her out the door. At that time, and only after that time am I able to start doing the things that I need to do for myself. Now that goes against everything I said about self-care, but for me, it also is something for me. It's a care thing for me because it allows me to give to her and to serve her. So that's my morning routine. I would love to.
But service is self-care.
And thank you for sharing
really does.
that, because what I feel that sometimes is missing in these conversations about entrepreneurship and what it means to be a business owner is that all of our circumstances are so different. Right. Where you're caring for your mother, I'm caring for small children. So our needs are going to be different in terms of what we prioritize in addition to prioritizing our businesses. Right. And I don't know that caretakers get enough credit for the work that they do. And so, I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. So you're in a season where caring for mom is the greater priority, but not forgetting about Angela is important too. Right. That's what I heard you say, that you're still in there, but right now, mom has to come first, and you understand that, and that's okay.
Yeah, but I will say that when I do get to the doctor and stuff like that, they know that I'm a caregiver, so they remind me of taking care of myself. Yes. And that to me, so I think you asked earlier, how do you know when it's time? Sometimes you have people on the outside checking in, where Freddie's wife would bring him lunch, where someone else would, the doctor would tell me, okay, you need to take a walk. You need to, maybe manage your food a little differently because I see you're not doing what you used to do because you're now prioritizing your mom. So I think outside influences also sometimes can be your lamppost or your guidepost to say it's time to check on yourself. And
before we get to you, Freddie, I feel like this is a great opportunity to mention the TSP community and why it's so valuable. If you are someone who's listening to this conversation and you just heard Angela say that, I heard someone in the universe say, well, I don't have nobody. I don't have a partner. Yes. I don't have anyone. Find your community. Yeah. Find your tribe and love them hard, as the phrase goes, and get involved and get into a space where there are people who understand what it's like to be you and to do what you're doing, whether you're still working full time and you're still building your business or you're in your business full time. We definitely want to make sure that we call that out, because it's community that's going to say, hey, have you eaten? Are you good? Are you take a break with me? Yeah. You all right?
Yeah. It's true.
and that's the value of
Even
that.
on Zoom, right? We've had moments where people slide into the chat and be like, "You're not looking like you normally do," and so you're right.
That's so valuable.
And I think that's a part of self-care, community, being able to find people that you can be vulnerable with and talk to them about what's going on with you, but also people who make you laugh and bring joy into your life.
All right, Mr. Taylor, how about
Comedy's
you?
a good one. Well, I started with, self-care as an illusion because it evolves, right? That's really where I'm going with it. Sometimes certain things are important, certain things aren't. But when I feel like I'm really anchored in and I'm on it, I wake up about 6 a.m., meditate 10 minutes. I drink a glass of water, 25 ounces of water.
It's a big glass.
Yeah. I take it straight down, right? Like that's like one of the first things I do. Then I read for 10 minutes. Then I either work out or run, come back and shower. While I'm showering, I'm listening to audio tapes. Okay. And if I've been down, I do personal development. Like I love Jim Rohn, Les Brown. Like I get goosebumps because I get fired up over them. So that's, about 20-minute routine. Then I come back, make my oatmeal, sit down, I read for another 20 minutes. And then that's my morning. Like I'm pretty good. I'm ready to go into the day. It's about 8 o'clock, around 8 to 10, I have a strategic block set up, no meetings, no things, so I can get some work done. And I move into it. On Wednesdays, every Wednesday, I have a beer show with my dad, right? So it's so we started it my nephew started it over the pandemic because he was, stuck in the house all alone, so he needed some interaction. So we get together over Zoom and drink beer and have conversations about the world. So that's like really, but the team knows, like 1 o'clock, he's not answering nothing. He's on the beer show.
And at 2 o'clock, don't call.
Don't call because he's on the beer show, right? And then, after a good long day, I will settle down with a glass of Pinot Grigio and enjoy myself, right? Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that too. I mean, you are the only male at the table at the moment. And I love having these variety of perspectives because again, what we're all bringing here, well, let me share mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so very similar in that I have a block on my calendar for the mornings. I call it my wellness routine. So that can mean different things. That's the beauty of wellness being or self-care being whatever you want it to be, because you're going to need space to be flexible because in different stages of your business is going to require other things of you. When you get to a place where you have a full team, then you're not wearing as many hats. So you might have a little bit more time to be flexible. Maybe your morning routine is just 30 minutes. What, 5 minutes? I think that we've shared a lot of really interesting tidbits and thoughts and things like that. And so my next question to you all is, can you have a successful business without self-care being a priority?
Absolutely not.
Why or why not?
I don't feel you can. I mean, as we said, we all came into this conversation with different interpretations of self-care. For me, in my interpretation, self-care is, again, self-preservation. If I'm not taking care of my body, if I'm not taking care of my mind, how can I be successful at running a business? And I say to people all the time, sleep, because I told you a sleep company. So sleep is an opportunity for your body to reset and recharge. It's the only way that your body is going to be able to show up in its true self. So if you're not getting the adequate amount of sleep, if you're not getting the adequate amount of nutrition and exercise and really prioritizing that, your body is not showing up as its true self. You're not going to be able to handle the ebbs and flows of a business and all the things that come with it. I just don't feel like somebody that is burnt out can address something that's critical at the time when it hits.
I'm going to disagree with Angela.
It's going to be the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I should have jumped in.
I mean, we have centuries of businesses of men and women, and now probably mostly men who've built empires. And I think evidence shows that you can build a $1 billion empire, literally, without how we are experiencing this revolution around self-care now. Do I think it's healthy? I think that's which is a different question.
At what
right?
expense?
Yeah, at what expense? But yeah, you definitely can, and it's been proven. And even in careers, I worked in an organization where we worked and we built we build millions of dollars a quarter, right, to companies. So I will have to disagree with Angela on that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I like how you framed it with the billionaires, right? Like literally, these people have gone all in 24/7 on their job and pulled it off. But I want to bring it back to like a smaller example, right? Like you can imagine hitting the ground running and like nailing it, right? So you're growing, scaling the business in say 18 months, 24 months, team no sleep, team all in. 24/7, and then you sell the business, right? Like you don't have to necessarily hang on to the thing. You can actually sell it.
Then you can take a nap.
And then you can take a nap. But I loved how you framed it around health, right? Like, is that healthy though? That's a
and I
different
think that's
question.
the question. That's the greater question that's underpinning even that question.
Yeah, but I'll run for 24 months if I could sell it for $1 billion. I'll work it out.
I mean, if we could ask Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett, like when you watch, and I read a lot of autobiographies, study a lot of businesses and business owners, and they do spend a significant amount of their time in life building it. But I think they also establish the boundaries with the people in their lives. We're either going to create this life and create this product and this service, and this is what it's going to take for us to do it. And I think it's not unreasonable that might be what it takes for 5 years for you to build that. But then you also have to ask yourself, can I live happily with $500,000? Or do I have to have a $10 million business? And that's a question I've been asking myself. Are we good with this? Or do we really need to build a $10, $20 million empire? And that is not something that I can answer in community. I really have to step back because, I'm I compete, right, with myself, not necessarily with others. I'm a former athlete, and so it's like, I hear someone say, we building millionaires, right? We're gonna have X, and I wanna be in that number. But then I have to realize, do I really need that?
But then that's why you got to go on the walks by yourself, so you can have that conversation with self. So
because is it enough to have a $5 million business? And I think those are the questions that we have to really start asking ourselves: is the why.
But I don't think that the true definition of self-care is represented in either of the rebuttals that you had, because you guys still focused on the vacations and the time off, where I'm saying you don't have to have vacations. And if you want to, you grind for 24 months to get to where you are, that's fine, but you still have to take care of yourse. You still have to get your rest. You still have to rely on those three pillars.
I have a friend who built a multi-million-dollar business here as a SaaS service. And I remember when he got sick, building this business. He was working full time, building this business. Like, you can look back on it, he tells the story and it doesn't feel like it was a big deal, but I remember him being hospitalized. I remember him not eating, not taking care. All he did was work and build this business. He has the fruit of that labor, but he almost lost his life in the process.
Whew. This is some good stuff. So I think there have been some nuggets, as we'd like to say here at TSP, dropped today. What's the final bit of advice that you would want to share to that entrepreneur that is contemplating this for themselves? Because maybe now we've inspired in them to think about, am I taking care of myself or not? What's your final bit of advice on how to find harmony between the work that you're doing and being fired up in the business that you're building and taking care of yourself?
I would say, I would implore any entrepreneur to just find at least one thing that you do every day to settle into yourself, right?
Grounding.
And the ground, and to ground yourself. Even if it's just one thing, if it's quiet time, if it's reading, if it's walking, praying, meditating, pick something that you do, because I believe that routine, that consistent performance is really what drives success.
I like it. Have a routine. Angela?
I would say don't put glitter on it. It doesn't have to be fantastic self-care, but it has to be take care of self. That's what self-care is. And if you focus on that and then get into the grind, you'll be successful.
Okay, so we have build a routine, keep it simple, and?
Yeah, I'm torn now. Right? Because I believe morning routine is really important. So I like the word anchoring, like you really got to find a routine in the morning that works for you. It doesn't have to be cute and glitterful, right? But I think the very first one that I did was taking a nap during the afternoon. Yeah, like a 20-minute nap, set your alarm, refresh, low power nap. I think like that is something simple that it doesn't cost you any money, right? It just takes you a little bit of time.
And
it might turn into, and you're
refreshed.
refreshed and you really can think the clarity comes in. I think I would start with a nap. If I was working on anything, I would go for it.
That's fantastic. So for our viewers, your self-care cheat code is to build a routine, keep it simple, take a nap, and I would say know yourself. Know what this means for you and find that thing and just do it. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Winners Table, where the conversation is different, where you sit with the winners. See you next time.
The Combo, your home for conversations on Black entrepreneurship and wealth, available on your favorite platforms.